Welcome back everyone. So we've got a Whyte full suspension mountain bike in now. Not been used for several years after a bit of an accident by all accounts. Overall in not too bad condition, however there are no brakes, they are totally dead. There's a reverb dropper post not working and a few other bits and bobs, but let's get it in the stand and see what we can do about these brakes. I mean, brakes kind of useful, yeah? Transmission looks in pretty good shape, so you need some lubrication. They only had a go at fixing the brakes, but this is as far as they got, so they give up. Pistons nearly fell out as well. The reverb is in need of a service, so we can do that as well. This pivot's loose on the suspension, so I need to tighten that up. It needs a good clean, but overall it's in actually reasonable condition. It's quite nice, this is. I think it'll clean up quite nicely. I'm not doing any suspension service work on this bike, we're literally just tightening this pivot. There'll be issues on this wheel as well. That spoke's pretty much fell out. The main issue with this bike is the brakes. Basically, they're terrible old SRAM stuff, so the lever basically seizes up. You can get rebuild kits for this. It's a new piston that goes in here, Generation 2 piston, but even then, they're not the best brakes in the world. Back one's exactly the same, obviously, with these pistons hanging out. So what we're going to do is upgrade and fit these ZRACE brakes. These are nice CNC levers, very nice. Nicely machined. Calipers themselves very similar to some other well-known brands. Fitted these before. These are a mineral system and pretty decent. So we're going to fit these instead of these SRAM and give the bike a new lease of life with brakes. Let's get these fitted. Because these are integrated levers, we'll need to get a separate clamp for this, which is no problem, they're easily available. The reverb lever is also integrated, so what I'm going to do with that is, I've got a good selection of old reverb bits and pieces here, so we're just going to use one of these separate levers. These are just a box of spares. And we're also going to rebuild the reverb post itself, obviously, because that's not working. The rear brake hose is internally routed just down the down tube itself. It comes out underneath the bottom bracket here, then along the chainstay, so it's not too bad at all really. So I'm just going to tighten these up while I'm here. I'll actually probably drop a Loctite on them first as well, because they always come loose. Just drop the axle through first so you can get it in the right place, otherwise you're going to tighten it up off centre. There you go. So on this one, this part is loose. There's a little notch on it that this sort of locates into and stops it spinning around, but this just needs raising up as well. So it's not actually locating it. Gear cable's in the way. I'm going to take this derailleur off because it's in the way. Better. So this part here, so that pushes up. This is on a, this slides up and down here. So just push it up until it locates into this part of the thread. Just make sure that still lines up, obviously. Okay. That's better. That's holding that in place properly now. Customers actually asked for these to be converted to tubeless, so we can do that. It's tubeless ready and TCS, so it's compatible system, so we can do that as well. Let's see what's in here at the moment. We'll get the tyre off first anyway while we look at this loose spoke. It's got a tube in it at the moment. I'm just going to take this rotor off just so we can give it a good clean. We'll clean these up as well. I've already measured the chain and it is in spec, so we're just taking this off literally just so I can clean the inside of the hub really, make it look shiny. Got a new workshop light from AliExpress. Not too bad actually. Look at this, beautiful laser. Yeah, so let's have a look at this wheel. I'm not sure what's happened with that one spoke, randomly loose like that. It's actually pretty straight, apart from literally just that one bit where that spoke's coming out, so that's good. Get a drop of oil on this one, it's a bit tight. Upgrade. So yeah, looking to get similar tension to the one next to it, and then we'll check for trueness again. Looking pretty good. Perfect. Wow, that's a good guess. Great, let's just check the rest of the spokes. When you're checking it, just give them a really good squeeze. Get a pair of spokes here and a pair here, the parallel ones. Just give them a really good squeeze and you'll feel the tension. This one's loose here. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so it's just that other one here. We'll tighten this up as well. Just checking that for true on here, that's good. Oh, nothing wrong with that. So this has been set up as tubeless before and the tape looks in fairly good conditions. What I'll do is I'll put the tyre in, put some sealant in overnight and see how we're looking in the morning when we come back to the bike for the brakes. Actually no, it's not, it's got some damage in it here. Okay, I'll have to retape this. Let's just remove this. So guess who left their microphone in their pocket? So it is a busy workshop and sometimes I have to take it off and I've got customers there. So all I'm doing here is just taping up the wheel. I'm using PT's tape here, and then I use a bit of gaffer tape, duct tape over the seal. Smooth it on with a plastic tool, sharp bridle through there. It's an AliExpress valve. Just screw that on. You don't need a big posh one that does the job. Just refit your tyre there as well. It's a really easy tyre to fit, beaded very easily. But bang that on with the valve in, see if it holds it. It did, no problem. Went to 40 psi and popped on lovely, that one did. So this is Victoria sealant, so it's ammonia free. So I'm just injecting it there through the valve hole. I always inject it, it works a lot better. Refit the valve core, pump it back up, see how we go overnight. So it's the next day and the tubeless gods have been kind to me. So it stayed up, no problem, 40 psi still in there. I'll do the front wheel off camera later on. So let's move on to the rest of the bike. I'm going to refit this cassette and brake disc before we get the wheel back on the bike. And then we can drop it out the stand, fit a dummy seat post so we can get it back in the stand. And then we can get the brakes off and service this reverb. I'm not sure what's wrong with the reverb yet. It might just be some brass keys, might just need some grease. It might need a full strip down and service, but they're getting a bit old now, reverbs, and this is a B1, so it's one of the older ones. Probably the best part of 10 years old now, and they never had the best reputation in the world, but I don't mind them too much. I quite enjoy working on them, so let's see what it's got going on inside when we get to that, and hopefully we can resurrect it, because it's not doing much at the moment, that's for sure. Let's just get this on. I haven't even tried the gears yet, but I think by the condition of the chain and the cassette, I'm hoping they're going to be okay. Alright, just prep the old disc up, just going to give it a scuff up the braking surface with some sandpaper. Ready for the new calipers. That's all we're looking for, just a gentle scuffing on the braking surface. Going to clean this now. New gloves as well, they're not covered in grease. Just keep going until that comes out clean. Pretty much there. Okay, get that back on the bike. Bit of fresh Loctite on these bolts. I had a disc on a customer's, well not a customer's bike, but a customer came to me with a disc that had one bolt holding the rotor on, so they can come loose. Let's give these a final tighten. Okay, let's get this back on the bike. Just going to move this rotor out of the way first, otherwise potentially contaminate it. The rotor with these pads. I think we'll be coming back and cleaning inside these chain stays later anyway, so the wheel will come out again. Just drop the bike to the floor, take the post out and put a dummy post in. So this dropper hose is pretty short, so I'm going to just move this in to give me some more slack while we get the post out. It's got to come off ultimately, but just for now we'll just move it to here gently. So we need to feed this through the frame to get the dropper out. Alright, so we need to get this out with 5mm here. I think it's 5. Yeah, 5mm. And I've got another one ready to go in, but we need to support the bike really first, otherwise it's going to be a bit challenging. So we just grab it around here gently. Okay, so just very gently clamp it here. So there's no pressure on this, it's literally just to stop it falling over. I can pull this out now, just feed this hose through the frame. It's pretty tight there. That's this one. Let's get some slack there. There we are. So short, just need to get to this bottom nut on this. Just undo this connector here. There's a 9mm and a 6mm, as you do. Ridiculous sizes. Okay, so that's the reverb off. So I'm just going to fit this piece of reverb that I've got from the spares, just so we can hold the bike in the stand again. Get this front wheel out, we can start getting these brakes off. Just got this cable tie for now, we'll replace that one. Just take this 2.5mm out. It needs to come out because it's folded over on this one. Some of them just clamp over it, but this is actually clamped all the way around the hose, which is handy. And just the 2 5mm here. We're going to be using this spacer again for the new calipers. So, because of this matchmaker system that they're using, I've ordered a separate clamp, should be here today, that we can bolt the shifter on with. Actually, might not need a clamp, it's going to hold itself on there quite nicely, so cool. So we're going to get these frame plugs out now because the hose, the reverb and the brake hose are going through here, so they should just pull out. It can be a bit tight there. Alright, there's one. Yeah. Good, now there's the last one at the top. So the rear brake and the reverb hose are loose now, you can see this, so this should come out. Not too much of a fight, but they are super tight. I prefer the ones that screw in. Bit of a faff that one, but that's out. Good. So now we can move hoses around quite easily. So looking at this reverb lever, we're going to be able to use this as well without changing it over, so we're just going to keep this one on. That's good. Yeah, that'll just clamp on. So we're just going to leave that there, so we didn't need to pull that hose. So what we need to do now, just disconnect this brake, we can pull that through from the back, then we can start fitting the new ones. We're just cutting this off close to there, and then pull the hose through. I'm going to connect this connector into here, screw it to a spare piece of brake hose, then we can pull it all through. Apologies if this is out of focus, but it's a bit difficult to get. So this basically, one's got a left-hand thread and it screws into both hoses at the same time, like this. It's for a reverb, this tool. I think you can buy them for brake hoses, but it's officially sold for a reverb hydraulic hose install. If you're pulling one through the frame, but it's exactly the same stuff. And then we're going to pull this hose through the frame. Then when we fit the new brake, we're going to reverse that and pull it back up again with this. So this is the brake one here. So there is another one of these plugs on the frame here, but we shouldn't need to take it out now we've put that one. So I'm just pulling that through now. It does hold it very well. So just keep going until we see that. There we go. So that's pulled through now, so we can just undo this, leave this piece of hose in the frame, connect the rear caliper and pull the hose back up through the frame and connect it to the lever. So we can just unscrew this. Brilliant design these are. Don't work for gear cables, only work for brake hoses. Alright, so that's both brakes off. I've not actually checked the gears on this thing yet, so have a quick go with that now it's in the stand. No, that last one, did you? B tension looks wrong, it's bone dry, there's too much cable tension. You can hear that B tension rubbing on there, so it needs to come back a bit here. And we'll come back to them. So the bottom bracket on this is super smooth, really, really nice. I'm just going to pull the crank so just purely so we can clean it in this area a bit better. So just undo these two 5mm really. We'll leave this off while we do the brakes as well, just give me a bit more space to work with. Get this cap off the end, flick that up. This just unscrews. Let's pull this out. Good. I'm just going to drop the wheel back out again. I know it's a bit backwards, but I'm just going to be giving it more space to get the brakes on and whatnot. Just pull this out. These jockey wheels have seen better days. See if we can get some new ones. I'll give this a quick clean now. Can't decide if it's supposed to be a gloss finish or a matte finish. Oh, it's just literally a case of bolting these on, really. Pretty straightforward. We're not going to tighten them up just yet because we need to align them. Annoyingly, there's a barb already on this hose, so that could make it a bit more difficult to get up there. Hey-ho. So this went through the inside of the frame with this to hold it on. I'm just going to loosely cable tie this to the frame. It's a nice smooth curve. So this is going to be the only slightly challenging part. I did want to use that tool to connect these together, but because it's got a screw in there because it's pre-bled, I think. I don't really want to undo that, so I'm just shaking my chances if I can get it through the frame, but it could be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to cut this as close as I can to the end, connect it again to that one and pull it through. You're just trying to dodge the barb, so just directly underneath the barb. I need as much hose as possible, so I just cut that there. So we're just going to screw these together again, same as before. It's very simple but really good design. So now I can pull this through the frame. So I'm just pulling at the top end where I poke that through. Right, just feed that through. Feed the hose through the rubber frame bung. So we'll just take this out now and rebarb it. So the lever comes with the boot. Obviously it needs to go on, then the nut needs to go on, and the olive and the barb. The tool, you just clamp it down here. There's loads of different versions of these, all do the same thing there. And that's in there. Good. Just put a little bit of grease on the olive there before you put it in the lever. Then we're just threading this in lightly now. We'll tighten it when it's on the bar. I'm going to take this grip off because it's in the way of the clamp. It's just a 4mm. You have to undo it to get it on, unfortunately. We'll leave the reverb lever on the inside, I think. It goes there. It goes through. Just slightly tighten this up for now. We're going to position it later. Just to keep it out of the way. Tighten the grip back up. Okay, so there's actually a bit of hose that was snagged up at the bottom bracket, so it's plenty long enough. So that's good. So we just need to tighten this up now, tighten that up, reposition. Well, we can't do this yet because we need to connect it back to the seat post. That's going to stay there for a while yet. So we can move on to the front brake. Let's just tighten this up first. So I'm just going to tighten the lever so we can get torque onto this nut, otherwise it just twists the lever. These need to be pretty tight, but don't go too bonkers. There is a torque setting thing, it's about 8 Newton meters, but push that sleeve on. And that's on. So we do need to bleed the system, obviously, because we've cut the hose, etc. So we'll do that after we've fitted the front. Just going to move this shifter inboard a bit. Just gives a bit more room for the lever. Okay, so I've just refitted this hose in here, the same as the other side. I'm pretty sure I forgot to press record, so apologies. And I'm just tightening this back up. And this one's done. Okay, we'll just go for final position on this one now. So we're happy where it is. Tighten that down. So don't do it so tight that this is going to snap if you have an accident. What you want to do is be able to, the brake lever to move. Just spin around the bar if you have an accident rather than smashing it to pieces. Just put the shifter there now. And the shifter clamps worked out okay. I don't know why I thought I needed another one. Oh well. I think they look pretty nice. They're not going to work yet because we need to bleed them. This front one actually works as it is at the moment, but we are going to bleed it. So there's reach adjustment on these as well. They look nice. We'll get them bedded in on the sinter machine as well. Just refit this cable tie on this mudguard now. So it came with new bolts, so I did put them in the end. Just going to give them a quick bleed now, so just take the pads out first, save getting them contaminated. 3mm bolt on this one. It's a mineral fluid system, so what I'm going to do is connect a syringe here, connect the cup on the lever, and just push fluid through. Should be all it needs. So I'm just going to bleed this now. Put a cloth here. It's a T10 port on this one. I've got a syringe ready. Just putting Shimano mineral fluid in here. Got a small adapter on this one, I think. There's a brass adapter I'm going to use. If you get a bleed kit, you normally get loads of these adapters with it, so just find the one that fits. And then I'm going to screw a park one onto this. This red one fits in here. And then the syringe on here. So I'm just going to push the fluid now through from the rear caliper. And should get all the air out into the cup. There we go. Plenty of air in there. Okay, happy with that. Just remove this adapter now. Make sure your O-ring is still on your screw. And the O-ring comes out with that as well. Didn't use a bleed block on this, but it's okay. As long as you're not touching the lever. We didn't squeeze the lever, so but obviously you should put one in there. Okay, tight enough. Don't go bonkers with these. Alright, so let's get bleed block in there now. Bleed block in. And we can just try the lever, see how that feels. Feels lovely, beautiful. That feels perfect. Let's get this cup off then. Bung that up, get your plug ready. And make sure your O-ring comes out with that. They even paint over the screw so when you do that it lines up. Tight enough. Alright, let's try that. Ow, absolutely fantastic. Look at that, that's beautiful. Alright, get the wheel in there soon. Alright, I'm just going to do the same on the front. That's the front one as well. It only takes a couple of minutes when you're not trying to film it at the same time. So yeah, bled up lovely, both of them. Great. So I'm just going to refit the pads now, so make sure there's no oil on your hands. And just drop them back in. Put the bolt in. Done. Again, not too tight on this bolt. That's fine. You'll just strip it. So that's the brakes fitted, lovely, all bled, ready to go. So I mean, look at the value of these. It's sort of £47, I think I paid for this for the full bike's worth. So just on the SRAM levers, it's £46 just for 2 pistons to rebuild an absolutely great system. So don't bother, just fit these. These are fantastic. And you can get 4-pot versions for, I think it's an extra £10, £15. So going forwards, I think I'll probably just buy those. Just going to align this now because it's rubbing ever so slightly. Tiny movement there. Good. Don't need much. So what I'm going to do now is just prep this front rotor and fit the tubeless setup on the front as well. I'm not going to film that because it's just exactly the same as what we've already done. So give me half an hour, I'll be back. So that was the result. The front wheel's already set up for tubeless. All it needed was some sealant. It was holding air even with absolutely no sealant in there at all, so no rim tape required. So that's all done. Disc's been prepped up, sealant in. Both wheels obviously back in the frame now. Let's just throw this chain set back in. Really grease on this. Nice Hope chainring on this. Nice. So it's pretty well looked after previous to its sort of enforced layup. A bit too much grease on there. Let's get rid of some of that. Okay, left hand crank. I've still got these plugs to put back in after we're finished with the reverb. They're going to be a bit of a challenge, aren't they? I hate putting them things in. A bit of lube and they normally go in a bit better, but they can still be a bit awkward, shall we say. Safety cap in. Tighten these up. Good. I've ordered some jockey wheels. Unfortunately, I've got none in stock at the moment, so they'll be coming tomorrow because these are dead. It's loose. So what we're going to do now is just bed these brakes in. You've probably seen this machine before. If not, I've done a separate video on it. Sort of workshop owner used to be fair, but let's just get these bedded in. Done. So we've got around about 35-40 degrees in the system now. About 40 degrees Celsius, so they're pretty warm at the moment. And the ZRACEs have survived that, no problem. So I'll just do the same on the back. Okay, so we're going to look at the reverb now. It's been probably 18 months since I've done one of these, so I might have to remind myself a little bit along the way, but I've done a fair few previously, so it should all come flooding back, hopefully. So we've got all the kit for it anyway, so that's the important bit. This is off the frame itself, the seal. Just take note of the marking when you put it back on. It's just 2 4mm. I don't see much love out there for reverbs, unfortunately. I thought they were okay product, but I don't see many of them nowadays. I think they're all pretty much dead and buried. Just normal cable actuated or even AXS if you're really one military. But yeah, you don't see many nowadays. So this one's kind of working. It's not got the usual sag that you get on reverbs. It just feels really rough coming up and down. So we'll look at the brass bushings in there, see if there's any grease. If we have to go any deeper into the actual piston itself than we can do. Let's see what we can find. I need to get like an overhead camera or something when I'm doing this because it's really difficult to work here with a tripod in the way, unfortunately. I'll try my best. What I need really is people to subscribe and like and all that, so then I can become a YouTube millionaire and buy all that fancy gear. So, hint, hint. It's also got super thanks enabled now, so if you did actually want to chuck a couple of pound towards projects, etc. and tools, then feel free. It's all very gratefully received. It's going to clean in here before we start taking that out. First thing we need to do is let the air out. There's an air cap here, so it's a special tool to get this out as well. 9mm nut runner on this one. There's a special RockShox tool for it, but keep everything to one side. And check if there's any air in here first. You need a shock pump for any sort of suspension work, including pumping this back up. I think it's 250 psi. I can't remember. I'll have to check. This is a RockShox digital one, which is nice. 223 psi in there, so it's definitely got some pressure in there. So let's let that out. I've done quite a lot of these. I went through a fad of buying second-hand ones and fixing them, so the intention of selling them on, but they're all just sat in that box, never to be done anything with. Well, they're useful for spares now, so, and they're a good practice. Alright, just to be double sure, we're going to take this valve out now. Point it away from you, obviously. Nothing in there. There's the valve coil there, so we definitely know there's no air in there now. So now we need to get, there's a little ring down the bottom here, split it here, and then we can pull it all to pieces. So just take this snap ring off that's in here. Don't lose it. So I need to undo this nut here now. Basically this poppet comes off and then we can split the main shaft. So once you take the circlip out, you need to clamp these 11mm here in the aluminium soft jaws. Let's get it right. This is where it makes it important to position your vise in the correct way, so you need clearance to run past everything there to get this in here. So if your vise is too far back, you're not going to be able to do this. Ask me how I know. We need to undo this top nut. This is where Nipex parallel pliers are really good for aluminium parts, they don't damage them. And that's it, just undoes. Once you've got that nut off there, we can basically pull this out. First of all, we need to undo this. We need to put it back in the vice clamps and then use the world's most expensive spanner. Look at this beauty. Specifically for reverb. Oh my god, look how nice this is. Don't ask how much it was though. Oh, let's get this off. Okay, so that now will go up there and you can just undo this top lock ring. Look at this, perfect fit. Look, Unbelievable spinner. There you go. Wow. That was a good one. It should just pop off now. Not literally, hopefully. These are also specifically for SRAM, for all reverbs. And stupidly expensive as well. When you spend like a ridiculous amount of money, they don't even come with magnets built in. I've had to drill these through and stick them in with epoxy. So now that's off, we can get this off. See what's going on the inside. So we should have some brass keys in here. Just here. And plenty of dirt. There we go. Rubber O-ring and a foam washer. That should be a bit less washed than this. Take your keys out. There's a bushing here as well. This actually looks in good condition. Okay, so we need to remove this now. I've got a spare one of these. This is damaged. There should be an O-ring behind this as well somewhere. It's just a piece of aluminium basically with some sort of PTFE embedded into it. Just come off like that. There should be an O-ring in here somewhere. And this is an O-ring, what's left of it. It used to be round once. What you need to do now is undo this, pull out the poppet, pull these pieces off, loosen this nut, and then we can take this off and take the IFP out, which is the piston. Again, just clamp the 11mm nut there. Take this off. There should be a little poppet thing in here. I do have safety glasses on as well. And you'll see why. So this is the poppet. Basically, when you press on the lever, the hydraulic pressure of the lever is separate to this system. It's in its own line. It is in the system. When you press the lever, it pushes this poppet down and activates the actual reverb part of it. So that's that off. We are going to change all of this oil as well. Now we need to clamp this 10mm in here. Shaft. Now I can finally undo this piece. It's the 11mm there. Okay, this is full of oil. This bit needs to come off now. Basically just loosen it off. A couple of turns. Get your cloth over it in case there's any pressure in here. Shouldn't be any pressure obviously, but that's what they say you gotta do. A couple of turns on here. And cover it with a cloth while you undo it, just in case there's sometimes some residual pressure in here. That's it. Take this off. And this is full of oil, so there's a cylinder in here with the IFP, which is basically an internal floating piston. I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to empty this. So there's quite a few bits to the reverb really when you look at it. So like I say, there's a seal head to some bushes in here. Not sure I've got any more of these, but these actually look in really good condition. I think I've got this one. Should have most of the O-rings. Definitely that one. And that's okay. There's a couple of O-rings on here that will change. This looks okay as well. Some O-ring there, the split ring. Actually, it looks in really good condition. I don't think I've got everything, but I've got enough to make it work. These bits and pieces here is just O-rings. Here's these seals here. More O-rings. Circlips, O-rings, all sorts in here. A special key, more O-rings. Syringes to bleed the lever with. This is a ruler, an IFP ruler. Measures the depth of the oil inside that chamber. More O-rings. Here's the big fat O-ring that we need. And that's about it really. Let's see what we can put together with this lot. I've changed over what seals I have got. I've got a new O-ring here. These are pretty much almost new. That's new. Here, I've not got these because these are different ones. Just depending on what size you've got, there's how many lines on here tell you what size it is basically. But I don't have any more of these, so basically we're going to go with what we've got. I think the issue really was the set of the IFP and the oil and air had basically mixed in there because it was quite frothy when it came out. So we'll put that back together and get the oil levels set correctly and see how she runs. Okay, so this goes back in the vise first. This needs to go on there with some grease. Plenty of grease on everything on these. It sticks out the way. What we're going to do first, put this valve back in before I forget. Otherwise the oil's going to go flying everywhere. So you can go back in the vise now. Then we have to set the IFP tube in there, set the IFP height, fill the oil level, and put it back together. So just set that in the vise, clamped on its flats. This is the top with this bit. Make sure it's got oil all over it, so just dipping it in the reverb fluid and giving it a good coating in and out. It needs to have plenty of oil. This will locate itself. It'll just push home like that. And then with the IFP seal itself, this gets covered in grease. This is SRAM butter grease, so fill everything with this grease basically. And then the tricky bit is getting this in, getting the height set. I mean, it's not that tricky, but what happens quite often is you go too far and you just got to keep doing it again until you get it right. So get that in there. Then you need an IFP ruler. This one gets set to 50mm. So here, so basically all you do is push this down until you can't, until 50 is level with the top. But it tends to jump down quite easily and go too far. Like you'll see, so that's 40. Be super careful with, but that's 50 mil. So now what we're going to do is fill this with reverb oil. It's going to get messy, so put this over. So I'm not proclaiming to be a RockShox service centre. I'm just getting this thing running for the guy. So 1001 specific bits that you should be doing, but this will, believe me, this will work. So just fill this right to the top, like that. Make sure there's no air bubbles. Just brim it off like that. So the internal seal head goes back in here, that's the new O-rings on here. And this just goes basically in here. And then you screw that down without losing all of the oil. Gets torqued to 28 Newton meters. I don't think I've got a crow's foot this size, unfortunately, so it's going to go tight. My original plan on this one was to fit one of the refurbished ones that I've got, but unfortunately I don't have the correct size in stock, that's why. Seeing if we can get this to work again, sure it'll be fine. So next up we refit this with the 11mm. Like that 10mm in there, we need to tighten this 11mm nut back up. We need to check the oil level inside the IFP. And this bit as well. And we need to check our oil level. Use this special syringe here. This is set to 166mm, which is specific to this 125mm travel post. Drop this in there and then you pull back on the syringe and any excess fluid will just pull out as soon as you drop. So then this poppet will go back in. Some grease on these O-rings here. Don't get any on this section here, they're supposed to be clean. And on there, and then this just drops back into the, this is the poppet valve, so it just needs to go down there a bit more. There you go. So that's the activation that you can see there. So my mistake, this one doesn't go on yet. Then we have to put the main seat post back on, and then we can put that in. Make sure this is really clean, especially on the insides. Once that's clean, drop this into here. Easier said than done. Pull it out very slightly again to get to the keys. And get it aligned as well. So the bit here is the back of the post, and this is the back of the post, so we're in line here. Ton of grease in here, and put the keys back in. Just hold those three in while you relocate the rest of the post onto them. And you'll feel them drop in. Like that, they're in. This cap will then screw back on. This one will now screw back in as well. And then the spring clip holds it all together. And then we put the poppet valve on the top. We'll just screw this last piece in. This just locks the poppet valve in place, stops it popping out there. Now this can be pushed back in now, and then the clip goes on top. We can put some air in. It's a 250 psi and all reverbs. Mistakes were made. I just rebuilt it again. Eagle-eyed reverb rebuilders will have spotted the mistakes I made along the way, but I've just stripped it down quickly and done it again, and it's all in pressure lovely now. So let's get this back in the bike and make sure it works. I was trying to do it by memory, but obviously I forgot a couple of minor bits, but we got there. All right, get back in the bike now. So I'll pull the hose back through the frame, connect this back up. Probably going to need to bleed this hose. It's a hydraulic, obviously, control on these. It's basically a sort of semi-quick release connector on these. They call it a thingamajig. Stupid name, but yeah. These levers quite often need a bleed. There's a port here and there's one on the lever. It's basically pump fluid through until it works, really. That's solid. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do this without clamping it back in. Tighten this back up just as a test. Grab the lever and press that and see if this will work. Yeah, that's going to need a bleed. That's not moving at all. So we'll just bleed that hose now. Okay, so there's one on there and there's one on the lever, and basically you open the lever, there's a speed adjustment on the lever, you fully open that, and then you just literally push and pull the fluid. It's a pretty basic system. There's all that air. Plenty of air in there. That's good. And then if you turn it to the lever, you can't see, but there's equal amount coming out the lever. You just keep doing that until there's no air. So literally just pushing and pulling that through again until there's no more air. Then we'll just put this screw in. And hopefully that should work now. It's adjusted to full slow at the moment, this adjuster, so I'm going to speed that up a bit. Alright, so now just press the lever, and hopefully this should go down now. There you go, and then press the lever up. Beautiful. Press it down. Locked. Perfect. Yes. Alright, so now that's finally done, we can put the saddle back on. So with the saddle, if you put a little bit of grease on any contact points and any bits that move, basically will tighten up. You can stop any clicking noises that you go in your saddle, so always worth a try if you've got a random clicking noise from your saddle area. Alright, this is honestly one of my least favourite jobs on a bike, is putting saddles on. It does my head in. So on the reverb there's an arrow that points in the right direction. There's an arrow on both pieces. So that goes that way and that goes that way. Then you saddle, and then obviously 2 bolts. And just try and get one bit started and slide the saddle in, but they are, I don't know, I just maybe it's just me, but I find them really fiddly to get back on. Once you get the bolts in, it's alright. It's just a matter of lining up this mark where it used to be. So I'll put a mark on this one here anyway, and then tightening these evenly to get it level. Right, now you can get it balanced. So undoing this back one, tighten the front one, and it's just keep going like that until you get it level. Now we can put this saddle back down to where it was in the frame. I did take a picture of it before I started the service, which is always a good idea. So I'm just going to drop that back down to where it was. Then we can pull this hose back through to the handlebar. So this is one where it's important not to over torque it, because if you over torque this, it can affect the operation of the dropper post. So just go to what it says, 6 there. The sleeve here just protects rubbish getting in the frame. Alright, just going to pull this hose back through now. See if we can get the lever back to where it's supposed to be on the bar. This hose is pretty short, but I think it's just about long enough. Right, that's how we were. We'll get these plugs in shortly. They're always nightmare to get in. So now just put your lever back at where it was. Actually plenty long enough. Just a T25 on this. Get it back on the bar. That's pretty much where it was before. That's good. Like I say, there's a speed adjuster on the reverb, so how fast it can come back up. So this is on maximum speed at the moment. They complement each other quite nicely, they do. That's good. So just one more time, press the lever. Down we go, and press the button. Beautiful, that's perfect, that is. And no sag at all. You all want a reverb now, don't you? I admit it. Alright, I'm just going to slow this lever down. This is a maximum slow now. So you just see it makes a bit of a difference in the speed to release. Not too bad actually, like that. We'll go about halfway. Perfect. Alright, so I'm just going to get this back on the stand now properly. Now we can actually use that. So I'm going to clamp the dropper post, don't panic. It is perfectly safe to do that. Park Tool has made a video specifically about that. If you don't believe me, watch that. The only time I wouldn't really do it is on a particularly heavy e-bike, or try and avoid it then. Best practice really is obviously if you can loosen that and clamp on the actual post itself, but because this hose is so short, there's just no way I can do that. So it is perfectly acceptable to clamp on this. And guess what, if I break it, I'm rebuilding it again. You might have heard me call out that the headset was loose when I was putting it on the brake bending machine, so just going to have a quick look at that now. It's just a little bit loose, it's not crazy loose, but there's enough. You know, I can see what the problem is, that's way too short. So there's not enough adjustment there. You need a 3mm gap here. Show you. On this section here, you need a 3mm gap there, because what's happening is this lip on this cap is bottoming out on there before it's doing any adjustment. So no matter how much you tighten this down, it's never going to adjust the headset. So we need another spacer in here, or a bigger spacer, just to raise this stem up a couple of millimeters. So let's just get one of those in. We'll have a quick check of the headset while we're in here as well, but it does feel really good. Yeah, this is all perfect. Look at that, that's brand new, fresh grease on there, that's lovely. So I'm going to give the bottom one a quick wipe and put some fresh grease on there, but the bearing itself looks beautiful as well. Nearly always the bottom bearing that gets the abuse because the mud just flicks up there, but it has got a bit of a splash guard thing on here. So, and if you've seen some of my other videos where I spent an hour getting this out of the frame, you'll see why I put grease on it. Right, this is looking really good in here. So I'm just going to add another spacer to the top of that. I have quite a few spares obviously. Just looking for a very thin one. This is going to be perfect. Drop that on, line up these logos while we're here. Stem back on. That's not fitted into the fork yet, that's why it's low. That's what we're looking for there, perfect. As long as this bolt here is below the top of the fork, you're good to go. Again, get this logo lined up, pet hate of mine. And we're just tightening this down until you can't feel the handlebars rocking anymore, basically. Like that. What I'm doing is flexing the bars up and down. You'll feel any rock in the headset then straight away. That's good, done. Tighten these back up. I'm going to line this up while we're on the floor for a change. Again, there's no marking on this stem, but we're going to go for standard sort of 6 Newton meters. It's an aluminium steerer. Done. What I can do now is watch me struggle to get these back in the frame for half an hour. Because they're swine. Just get some lube on them first, that helps. Just a little bit of lubricant. Just helps them slide in. If you want any of these plastic trim tools that you use on cars, these can help as well. So we're moving on to the gears now really, so I've noticed there is a frayed cable here. So we're going to change the inner cable. If it's frayed after the pinch bolt, you can get away with it. It's not ideal, but it doesn't make any difference to the bike. But if it's frayed pre-pinch bolt, we need to change this. So let's just run this. It's a full outer, so it's pretty straightforward on this one. I'm going to cut this so we've got a good clean cable to pull through. Cut it here. I'm still waiting for the jockey wheels, unfortunately. I'll have another look, see if we've got anything that could work. Apart from that, I just need some lubrication. It's bone dry, but it might work, hopefully. The thing with SRAM levers, on Shimano, there's a little, just a plastic cap you undo and push the cable through. With SRAM, you've got to physically take it apart, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. Not a big fan. So what we'll do is take this off the clamp here rather than moving the brakes over. I don't think SRAM will be sponsoring me anytime soon, unfortunately. I'm a bit of a Shimano fanboy, as you might have guessed. I don't mind it. AXS stuff's fantastic, but stuff like this is just crazy. You've got to take the whole thing apart to get a cable in. Just make sure you are linked into your lowest gear first, like that. And there's a 3mm here you need to take off. So it's a struggle to get to this screw while it's in situ sometimes, depending on your setup, but it's easier to take it off the bar, which is what makes it a bit of a hassle. Not too bad once you get it off. One of the older ones used to have a rubber cover here you could do it with, but not this one. Once that's off, you'll see the end of the cable here, so we're just going to poke that through. Poke that through and hold a bit of tension on it. And we can just flick this out. Being careful not to break any of the spring. And that's it there. Once that's out, it'll just pull straight through. You can either chop it here and pull it straight out, or pull the whole thing through. I'm just going to cut this off and pull it through that way. Done. So that's the empty shifter now. We just need to put a new cable through there. New cable is stainless steel die-drawn cable. It's what I normally use for pretty much everything, and that literally just threads through there and comes out the barrel adjuster. You can unscrew this all the way if you need to, give you a bit more room, but normally comes out pretty easily. Make sure you just clear it over there, and it will locate into there. Done. Cover back on. Depending on your bike, you might be able to do it without taking this off, but for the 10 seconds it takes, it's easier just to take it off. Just to verify, just pull a bit of tension on this cable and operate it, and you'll feel it moving. That's perfect. And drop it down to the smallest gear again. So this is the old inner cable. I'm just going to pull that out now, and the new one just goes straight through and out the other end, hopefully. Unless they've put some stupid joint somewhere, then I've got problems. Mostly these are full housings on full suspension. And that's it. That's pulled out the back now. Again, just check that. Feels good. So this is a Shimano XT lever, just as a comparison. All you do is take this screw out. So again, it's JIS for, as is all Shimano. Comes out a little plastic screw, sort of half a thread on it, and then the cable just comes straight out. How easy is that? And you don't need to take the lever off the bar, obviously. So it just pulls through this groove here. You can see the groove there where the cable's supposed to sit. It doesn't go that side, it goes this side. And just gets trapped by the washer. Just put a little bit of tension on it with your hand. And when you did change the gear cable in the lever, make sure you use the barrel adjuster, sort of screw it all the way in and then unscrew it a couple of turns, because you might need to adjust this cable tension either way. SRAM work on fairly low tension normally, so just nip this one up to where it is now. Don't go crazy, because we might need to adjust it. We don't want to kink the cable. Just going to lubricate this chain before we try doing anything, because it's bone dry. So just start at your quick link and just put one drop at a time. See how these go. We're not trimming this cable yet, but let's just see how they shift or not. Right, there's not quite enough tension. Trying, it's not far off. I'm just going to unscrew the thumb and barrel adjuster a couple of turns. It's up there. Let's go up the block, get some of this oil moving around. Right, so it's overshifting at the top, which is fine. That's why you do it slowly, because if you're not sure what it's going to do and it goes over the top like that at speed, you can do some damage. Let's just get it back to where she wants to be. Click your lever down a few clicks to get it out of the way. And we're going to just tighten this limit screw in slightly. So that's the low screw there for the low gear. So make sure you're not in the low gear when you're trying to do this, because you'll be fighting against the derailleur. So click it down a few gears first, and then you can easily turn this in. So that's basically one turn there. That should be more than enough. Right, let's go back up to that biggest sprocket. When it is up there, push your derailleur with your thumb, so you're basically simulating an overshift. Right, that's not going to go into the spokes there. Right, so it goes up pretty well. It's down pretty well as well. Right, just need a tiny bit more tension on there. You see that struggling? That's not bad. Does act slightly differently under load on the road, obviously. That's quite nice as it is. Brakes work as well. Imagine that. I am going to change the jockey wheels when they get here, but that's actually quite nice. Yeah, better. I like to keep a good selection of cable end caps here. These are all from AliExpress, you can get all sorts on there, cheap as chips as well, but unfortunately I don't have anything to match this frame particularly well. I've got orange, but it's just totally wrong. So we're going to go with, I think we'll put black on here. Gratuitous EP1 action here, look at that. Oh, beautiful, best tool in the world. So it was good time, and the jockey wheels have just turned up. These are aftermarket jockey wheels. We're going to see how these go, but the price of OEM SRAM jockey wheels is just absurd. It's nearly the same price as the radio sometimes, so it's ridiculous. So we're going to see if we can get these on. Just do one at a time, otherwise obviously you're going to have a pile of bits. Just take the lower one out, it's 3mm, I'll take it easy. Bit clean in there while it's out. You look alright, got sealed cartridge bearings in there, just a cap on each side, and just drop them in. You have to use the original bolt obviously and put some Loctite on that. Hook it through your chain. I always put Loctite on them because you don't want these falling out. I've been there, done that when I think I was 10 years old on a school bike ride type thing. I was doing really well, even though it wasn't a race. Obviously I was winning, and then my jockey wheel fell out and I had to walk home. So I always put Loctite on these. Just drop the gears down so you've got better access. It's probably easier to take the wheel out, but we'll see if we can manage. No, I'm going to take the wheel out. Oh, that's better, plenty of room there. So just take this one out. The bottom one's tight, so we're not going anywhere. Just slide that out and repeat. Show the difference in teeth between good and bad jockey wheels. Very pronounced on this one. Should be nice square top bits on there, not shark teeth. I'm going to see how these perform because I'll just refuse to pay SRAM price. Obviously the customer's paying it, but I can't say it's £30 for 2 jockey wheels. It's just ridiculous. I think these were £6 or £7 and they look really good. Right, let's get the wheel in, see how they go. Quickly go through these now. Should be fine. Good. Happy days. Couple more big jobs today. These bolts, one's black, one's silver, one nearly fell out, so we're just going to change these. Couple of black ones to drop in, bit of grease on these threads as well. And then we're done. Good. Refit this sag ring that's fell off. So we've not done any shock work on this. It seems to be nice. Right, good. And I'm just going to refit this DIY frame protector, bit of tyre. Just cable tied on like it was before. I'm going to put it underneath the cables that are under there, like that. Keep the end of the cable tie out of the way, we don't want that visible. I'll add a third because it's just bulging out a bit. Obviously it's not really designed for this, but it does the job. So that's a wrap on this one. Quick final wipe down for the customer and we're done. Brakes, fantastic. Look at these, beautiful. I think you'll probably be impressed with these as I am. Dropper, that's actually doing what it's supposed to do now, which is a bonus. And yeah, apart from that, it's all good. Gear's fantastic, really good. So yeah, a few different bits and bobs on this though. Hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned, loads more to come. Thanks for watching.